Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is lesson 380. The title of today's lesson is The Difference Between Exile, Banish, and Deport. Okay, let's take a look at the note here. Now, this is one where sometimes students will ask, what's the difference between these three, because they are similar in meaning. So let's look at the note. If someone has been exiled or is living in exile, he or she has been forced to live in a foreign country because they cannot live in their own. Okay, let's continue. Exile can be a little tricky because there are two types. There's two types of exile. The first one is someone could be exiled by force as a punishment. And the second one could be a voluntary one. So if it's a voluntary one, they probably know that if they went back, something bad may happen to them. Maybe they may get charged with a crime. Maybe they may be in prison. Maybe their life is in danger. Whatever it is, they know that they can't go back. So the second one is a voluntary one. Nobody forced them out. Nobody pushed them out. The first one, somebody did force them out. Well, let's continue. Someone can only be exiled from one's own country. All right, so when you're comparing the three, exile is the only one that you get exiled from your own country, your native country you get exiled from. Okay, let's continue. Here's a couple of examples to explain it better. Now, Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba after abdicating. When you abdicate, it means you gave up your throne. Abdicating his throne and agreeing to the Treaty of Fontainebleau. Okay. Now, this is an example where you are forced. And usually when you're exiled and you're forced, sometimes you're forced to stay in one place. Like he was supposed to just stay on that island of Elba. And this is another one. We're going to talk about that later. Both exile and banish, in former times when they did it, sometimes they did it rather than like a death penalty. So Napoleon was still pretty popular. Actually, he was popular enough that he escaped from his exile and took back over France again and then got exiled for a second time. But the second time was his last time, and he ended up dying in exile the second time. But that was one where both times he was forced. That was a forced exile. All right, let's continue. The Dalai Lama voluntarily exiled himself from Tibet over 60 years ago. Yeah, I think he got word that the Chinese government was going to take him into custody or arrest him. I think he feared for his life, and he ran away before that happened, and he never actually returned to China again. Okay, so he actually exiled himself, so he lives in exile. Now, he can go to other places, though. He can go all around. See, when you do it on your own and you do it voluntarily, as long as you have some sort of a passport or someplace, you could go to other countries. You don't have to stay in the one place if you did it voluntarily. Maybe somebody like Edward Snowden, you could say, is living in exile in Russia, although he's a little different because his U.S. passport was canceled. So unless Russia gave him another passport, he's not really supposed to leave Russia. Okay, good. All right, let's continue here. All right, now the next one, we're up to banish now. So if someone is banished, he or she is officially ordered, usually by decree, to leave a country. So this one is not this one's never voluntary. Usually the government made a decision and told you to get out. I think banish, I hear it often here, like in fairy tales or stories years ago when there was a king or an emperor. Again, it might be somebody who they didn't really want to kill. But they did something that, it probably would have made them look bad if they didn't just tell them, okay, just leave, never come back, and, we won't kill you. That's kind of the idea. So, yeah, so it could be his native country or another country. Yeah, so you could be in the past, you could have been banished from the country that was your country, or it could have been another country that you were just living in, that you may not have been a citizen of either. Where exile, you can only be exiled from your own country. Banish could be either your country or another country that you were staying in for a long time. Okay, good. In former times, if one tried to return from being banished from punishment, or the punishment was usually death. So they did banish you, but they usually said, if you leave, you can never come back. If you come back, then the real punishment will come to you, and that would usually be death. Okay. Just like I said here, often both exiling and banishing someone was an alternative to the death penalty. So, they could have just killed you too. So they were kind of nice enough to just let you go. All right, and we have one example here. The king banished him from his kingdom. So, told him, get out, never come back again. All right, and now the third one, of course, here, if we say, if someone is deported, he or she is sent out of a country in which they were taken into custody, and which was not their native country. Yeah, so you can't be deported from your own country, or the one that you are like a citizen of. Someone who is deported is usually deported because maybe they're an illegal alien. Okay. Yes, this could be because he is an illegal resident without a visa. Okay, or maybe they actually came in a real visa, but they overstayed it from a long time, so they're still illegal, and they got caught. They could be deported for that reason. Or one has broken a law. So you could be there on a visa, but you broke a law while you're there, and it was serious enough that they want to deport you. Probably not too serious stuff. If it's really serious, like murder or something, they will probably charge you and put you in jail. But if it's something like less serious, like, of course, overstaying your visa, or maybe working illegally, they don't really want to put you in jail for that, or some other minor thing. It's maybe they figure it's not worth their time to incarcerate you, to put you into jail, just send you back to your own country. So you're just not their problem anymore. Okay, so it's broken law. All right, good. Again, like I said, usually not a felony. Felony is a different story. A misdemeanor, they may just deport you. Felony, no, you might go to their jail. It is usually preferred to deport someone for a crime that's not really a felony. Yeah. Okay, good. And all right, and we just got a couple examples here. He was deported for being an illegal alien. Yeah, so if they found someone and they were really not a citizen, or like I said, if they overstayed a visa for a long time where they didn't seem to have any intention to leave, they could be deported for that reason alone. Or that foreigner was deported when she got caught in a prostitute ring. So maybe she got arrested and then they realized she wasn't a citizen, and then they deported her too. So it could be for a crime like that. Maybe they don't really want to jail you for a long time for that. Just, again, send you back. You're a problem. Just get rid of the problem by sending you back to your own native country. Okay, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it's clear. I hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.